Hello everybody. I'm already being laughed at. So, we're going to try something a little different. We're going to talk about what I think about Korea. So it's going to be a two-part series, but it's going to be what do I like about Korea, and then what do I think is different and strange about Korea in the next part. So, let's start it. First thing I noticed after coming to Korea was that it's incredibly foreigner friendly. I mean an English-speaking foreigner. Because whenever I go somewhere, even if I can speak Korean well enough with them, or when I first started in Korea, everyone always tries to help. So even when I first got to the train station coming here, or the airport, an airport employee tried to help me, right? Speaking English to me, it's like, oh, do you know where you're going? Da 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 da. Things like that, I think, don't really happen in the States. You get some random people, but just in general, everyone here is really supportive. I'm at a coffee shop or something, and someone will always say, oh, where are you from? Da 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 da. Because I think there's not as many foreigners in Korea as there are in other places. Everyone who lives here is basically Korean or different, right? In America, everybody looks the same, so you don't know if there's a foreigner, or in most places. But in Korea, since 90% of the population is Korean, you kind of get that, which is interesting. The next thing is safety. Going out in Korea, I have never once thought, oh, this dark alley is like a bad thing, right? It's just like, oh, this is a shortcut somewhere else. In the States, oh, you're not supposed to go into this place at this time. You shouldn't go in this area. You should avoid this area if you're not like this type of person or whatever. But in Korea, there's no fear of ever getting mugged or anything. Things like crime don't worry anybody here. Especially as a guy, I've never once had to worry about crime here, which I really appreciate. It's kind of strange because there aren't any police around. You never see a police officer unless you go to a specific area, outside an embassy or something. You'll see police. But generally speaking, walking around, you don't see police often. Even if you're a place like Itaewon or something, yes, there are police, but they don't go around often. It's just safe here because there's CCTV and everything. Next is, I think I like the most about Korea, is the public transportation. You can get anywhere in Korea in under 5 hours, I think, with just public transportation. You can go from Seoul to Jeju Island, or Seoul to Busan, or really anywhere in between in 5 hours if you don't mind the slowest train. If coming from the States, if you want to go somewhere, even to the next city, it takes an hour by car. But realistically, you can go from one side of Korea to the other within an hour, which is pretty convenient, and it's not that expensive. If you take a bullet train, it can cost upwards of $40 US, and it's not that hard. You don't have to speak any Korean to do it, so if you wanted to just travel around the country, you could do it without speaking any Korean. Just a really easy country to get around. And there's so many apps like Google Maps, like Naver Maps, things like that, that make it so easy to get around. Next, delivering packages and stuff. If you want to get something and you order it online, I would say 95% of the time that I've ordered something, it has come within 2 days. Short of a public holiday or shipping something that's incredibly big or niche, I get everything in 2 days. Oftentimes I order something and the next day they are telling me it's being delivered. So it's amazing, and you don't have to pay anything really extra for that. It's just the standard shipping price. The most I've ever paid is 3,000 won, so about $3 American for shipping, which is amazing. It's just so convenient to be able to say, oh, I really want that thing, and just you have it instantly. The longest I've ever waited for something was furniture, and I had to wait a week. And in the States, if you don't order on Amazon Prime or something, if you order from someone's website, it could take a week or 2 or 3. Depending on what the thing you're ordering is, which is just incredible here. It helps that the country's so small, but still, it's just fantastic. Even delivering food, you can order something and have it at your door in 10 minutes, which is absurd. You can even get that kind of delivery at midnight. Just great. Next thing, if you go to a restaurant or you go in a taxi or anything, you never have to tip. Tipping is the worst thing in the world because you have to find this fine line between how much do I want to show this person they did a good job, or how much do I want to show this person they did a terrible job? How much is too much? How much is too little? 20% rule at a restaurant, well, does that apply at a taxi? Tipping sucks. Kind of strange because I found myself wanting to tip in Korea, but I don't know if I should because it's oh, this was amazing service or something at this restaurant. And I wanted to give them extra, and then I just go, I don't know if that's rude because no one ever gives tips here. So, and I don't feel comfortable not giving a tip sometimes when someone does a really, really good job. I love that tipping is not a thing here, but I guess I'm too American because I think, oh, sometimes I really want to tip because I want to show someone they did a great job. Oh, but still, I feel weird doing it. One of the most convenient things is if you go to a store, anytime you buy something, the tax is included. Now I know from some countries they already do that in some places, but in the States, generally speaking, you buy something and then you figure out what the price you're actually paying afterwards. So I lived in New York, so 8% tax. So I would just add 10% to whatever I bought, and then I had to figure it out. But here, it's like, if I go grocery shopping, I can just go, okay, this was 6,001, this is 7,001, and then go on. And by the end, I can be like, oh yeah, I remember I had to pay 53,001 when I'm leaving. It's really easy to keep track of. I don't have to do any math or anything. And nothing ends with like 99 or something. Everything is just a straight number, or like 500 won or 1,500 won. Unless you're ordering something online, there's never that weird like little price. Like it's never 1,723 won. It's nothing like that. It sounds stupid, but it's just nice to be able to go into like, I have exact $2. I can go buy this candy bar or something. Or back home, it's like, oh, I need $2.16. It's stupid. Next one is customer service in general in Korea is amazing. Coming here, I thought if I ever need help or something, it's going to be really difficult because I don't speak Korean. But even as a foreigner, you can call basically anyone will have an English line if you're ordering something. Or worst case scenario, if I'm just using Google Translate and I send a message, and I just say, oh, I'm a foreigner, sorry, this is going to sound weird in Korean using translator. Then even then, everyone's just like, oh, okay, I'll try to help my best. And then they say, like, oh, I can speak a little bit English, and say, oh, I can speak a little Korean. And we kind of collaborate until we get whatever to work. So I think, and from what I understand, Koreans feel the same way about customer service here. It's generally very good from the people I've spoken to. If you have a problem, you can call and they'll fix it. And they try to. Even at like a restaurant or something. Back home, it's like, oh, this was terrible, this was overcooked or something, and they'll give you something free. But when you go to a restaurant here, a lot of times they just say like, oh, you ordered a bunch of things, this is on the house, they'll give you something free, service. So even if it's just like, they'll give you a Coke or something, a lot of times it just happens here. And I go to a restaurant and I've ordered $10 worth of stuff, and they say, oh, here's this drink, that's on us, because they've seen me come like just a couple times in the last few months. It's a weird thing to say, but it just makes you feel like welcome. I like it just because, I don't know, it feels like they don't just want your money, they actually want you to come back. The last one, and kind of based off of all those things, is this like respect for everybody else. In Korean society in general, it's just a lot more respectful, except for when you get off a bus. If you get off a bus, it's all in the whole bar. But any other time, like walking in general, I think people are really polite. Like back home, like you'd get like bumped into or something by someone, and like very rare would you ever hear sorry. But here, I think, unless you're trying to get somewhere super, super busy, like trying to rush to get on a train or trying to rush to get on a bus, people are just more respectful. I think partially because of like Korean culture, like that hierarchy and stuff, people are just more generally polite here. But I like mutual respect most people have for each other. Yes, there's crazy people and there's people who are rude or people who are entitled, but for the most part, people here just are generally nice to each other, and I just like it. It sounds weird coming from the States to say like, oh, people are here more friendly, because back home you'll get a lot more like, oh, hi, how are you, as you walk past somebody. And that doesn't happen here, but it's more just generally everyone stays in their lane, gets their stuff done, and tries not to bother people. Whereas back home, sometimes you get that really nice person who will, hey, how are you? And then you'll talk about your day for 2 hours, and I hate that. No! But here, it's just more, everyone coexists and just wants to be in their own lane and make things happen. Even just from like people wearing masks here, you can kind of see it. People in Korea don't like wearing their mask, but generally everybody does it just because. Whereas back home, there's lots of problems like, oh, this is my thing, da, da, da. So it's just nice. Everything here is made to be easier. Now, you lose some of the freedom I think you get from back home, some of like the individuality, but overall everything here is geared towards being respectful, being easy, being nice, and I like that. So that was just a quick list of all the things I like in Korea. There's lots. These are the things I think almost everyone can get behind. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with any of these as a whole. So thank you guys for watching. We'll get back to snacks eventually, maybe next week, maybe the week after, I don't know. But stay tuned, like, subscribe, and share it with somebody. We appreciate you watching. Thank you. Bye-bye.